You know, things may seem kind of boring in the crypto market right now, and that's not surprising because we're at a little bit of a retail standstill. And what that means is that there's a lot of people on the sidelines right now in the market that have their capital parked in stables that are not ready yet to move that into assets like ADA and many others. Now, I do want to talk about, what could cause this to take place, but we do need to talk about this little bit of a shakeout that took place over the last 24 hours and the news surrounding that. But I also want to talk about this strategic positioning that's taking place behind the scenes that people may, in fact, not be aware of. Now, ADA, for the most part, last 4 days, just been ranging between 66 to about 70 cents or so, just up and down and left and right. And it's really boring. And I get it, right? We've talked about this many times that we're all ready for the market to start taking off, but it will take off when it is ready. And what we're seeing right now for ADA is a lot of consistency. In fact, when we look at almost every single day over the last 2 months, we've been trading at about $500 million in daily trading volume. That's a key point of consistency. ADA is showing a lot of resilience. There's huge conviction in terms of holders, and that's what you want to see right now. If you're bleeding and creating lower lows, that's not a great sign. If you're at least holding stable floors, that's a very good sign. Because we've had a lot of shakeouts along the way. We've had a lot of news that could, in fact, cause retail to capitulate more. And when it comes to ADA, that just simply has not been happening. All right. That's a very, very good sign. Now, we did have some red yesterday. We started off kind of this week on the same note as last week. And what I mean by that is we went green, red, and then we kind of tipped into a big bag of trash as we got into the later part of last week. And remember, that had to do with, negative news and long leverage liquidations. And right now, we just don't have that same kind of compression on the bottom side in terms of long leverage that we did back here. That's why you haven't seen ADA kind of tip into we'll call it this drop of despair that we dealt with in the later part of last week. Now, the news that came yesterday wasn't really a nothing burger, but it's something definitely worth monitoring. So Russia has said that they're going to respond to the Ukrainian attack on warplanes. So it's more of this overseas uncertainty that we know has kind of shook the market before. It shook it, but not that much, and that's a good sign. That shows that retail's we'll call it maturing up just a little bit and getting less reactionary to some of this news. Yes, we obviously know tariff news. That's been the big thing as of late that has dropped the markets, but that's what we dealt with yesterday. And what we're seeing is good defensive price. People just, keep building their positions, keep adding to their bags. In fact, institutional money yesterday on both the Bitcoin and Ethereum side, just continuing to accumulate. And that's not really surprising. And what's very interesting about this is there is, in fact, some strategic positioning that's taking place from institutional players. And some people may not be aware of this, but Dan Gambardella put out this post yesterday that said $1.6 million asset manager Franklin Templeton is running Cardano nodes. The game hasn't even started. And there was actually a great post here by this guy, Snekemoto. And what he posted was a chat GPT analysis. And it said, yes, it's true. Franklin Templeton, a global asset manager with over 1.6 trillion in assets under management, is actively running Cardano nodes. This has been confirmed by both Franklin Templeton and Frederick Regard, CEO of the Cardano Foundation. I believe they actually met just yesterday or the day before. On Franklin Templeton's official digital assets website, they list Cardano among the blockchain networks where they operate validator nodes alongside Ethereum, Polkadot, and Solana. Additionally, Frederick Regard acknowledged this on LinkedIn, noting Franklin Templeton's participation in securing the Cardano network as part of their broader blockchain infrastructure involvement. I think that this is a pretty big deal that tends to get overlooked. We've talked about this for quite some time. This is kind of that fact-finding phase, that test phase for institutions, for enterprises, for governments. And we've been seeing huge testing going on with Cardano around the world, whether it is Dubai, whether it is Argentina, right? Or even here in the US with NASA, right? You are actively seeing the evolution of the crypto industry where there will be large entities utilizing blockchain infrastructure. And this is something where, again, Cardano has a huge opportunity here because, again, of its perfect uptime, because of its decentralization, because of its security. It's something that right now is getting overlooked because all people care about is price. And you know what? I get it. I'm ready for price to go up here as well. I want things to just moon, but I'm not a moon boy. I understand that it takes time for these things to build. It takes time to get into adoption. I understand the suppression and the negative news and the black swan events that we've dealt with in the crypto market that I've talked about repeatedly, that people just want to ignore and pretend that ADA is performing bad on its own. And it's not. We've had negative events that have impacted the space, that have impacted price. And that's why right now everything has kind of been crap. But guess what? It won't be crap forever. We have seen this many times before, right? You guys remember the summer last year? It was boring as hell, right? It was just, we'll call it trash, right? It was just sideways, basically from July all the way through the start of November. And then we went on a nice, huge parabolic run. That is what the market is kind of gearing up for right now. And it's only going to get bigger because of how big the players are that are entering the crypto market. Your governments, enterprises, institutions are huge. And we are just scratching the surface of the impact that they can have on the crypto market. We've seen what this has done to Bitcoin already. And actually, guys, there's huge institutional interest for some of these other top altcoins in the space. And like I said, they are looking at tech. We've talked about this evolution from a speculative era to a more technical performance-based era. And I said that might happen later this market cycle, early next market cycle, but we're starting to see some early signs of that transition taking place. And that's where you should have a lot of confidence in Cardano and ADA, because we know that Cardano is technically sound. It's gone through massive development from the bear market cycle into the bull. You have to remember, for anybody that's trying to dog ADA price or dog Cardano performance or whatever, you have to remember that back in September of 2021, we just launched smart contracts. And here we are as now one of the fastest blockchains in all of crypto, on the verge of being the fastest after Ouroboros Leos. We're fully decentralized. We are perfectly secure. We have 100% uptime. And this is despite even other chains recently having issues. I'm not sure if someone wanted me to talk about this, but Sui had a big exploit from one of their top dexes just about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, right? Cardano does not have these issues. This is where there is a huge separation between Cardano and other blockchains in the space. And, I don't want to rag on some of these other blockchains. I'm invested in a lot of different chains throughout the space, a lot of different projects. But this is where I think Cardano stands alone. And as we really progress into this evolution, it's where you can see this impact ADA price in a much bigger way. We're just beginning to scratch the surface. It hasn't even started yet. And that's what gives me so much excitement about what comes next. So I appreciate you guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts below, but have a great day. Catch you guys in the next one. Take care.